Thanks for joining us again today, especially on such a chilly day outside. So if you have a chance to get out of the house, maybe you want to throw on a jacket. Today we're going to be doing an awesome process art activity. I know that Tracy Taylor guessed that we were going to be doing something with clouds, so she was pretty close with her guess. If you want me to shout out your kids' names, make sure to throw them into the comments too. So, like I mentioned, we're making a rain process art activity, and you can see I have some books set aside over here as well. Singing in the Rain, which is kind of based right off of the song. One Rainy Day and Raindrop Plop. There's lots of other great books that you can use to connect those as well. I'm going to just set these aside so that they're not in my way while I'm making our project. So what is process art? There's two main kind of categories that children's art gets thrown into. Process art and product art. Process art is all about the what you do on the process of creating it, where product art is about what you make, the final product. So basically what the titles say. Children learn so much in the process of creating, especially when the creation is child-led. As a parent, it can be really hard to resist the urge to fix a child's creation. Like, no, glue it here. No, okay, here, I'll move it for you. Well, that's more of a sign of product art. And as parents, we need to just take a step back and let our children actually create these things because they're learning so much doing that. I know that sometimes I struggle with doing that. Do you struggle with wanting to correct your children's art? Hi, Brighton and Rebecca. So with process art, there's no right or wrong way to do a project. There are a few, if any, directions to be followed, and children focus on creatively exploring the materials and tools and techniques. Hi, Liam. And every finished project will look different because it's their own creation and they're not following a right or wrong way to do things. And the role of an adult in process art is to encourage and support the children's creative process and to teach techniques, not products. With product art, it's a step-by-step instructions that must be followed. There's one right way and wrong way to do a project, and children are focused on getting the project to look right. And every finished project will essentially look the same, and the role of the adult is to ensure that the final product is done correctly. So as you can probably tell, the children learn so much more by getting a chance to create it themselves rather than just do what they're told. Well, there are some benefits from being able to follow step-by-step instructions. At this young age, it's more beneficial for kids to get that creative outlet. They gain so much confidence and they have a chance for self-expression. It gives them a strong sense of intrinsic value, and it really helps boost their creativity to be able to do these things with just you giving them the tools to do it. And process art can be done with any kind of materials, like some of the stuff that I have in front of me. Some of my favorite art combines those two strategies, taking a piece of process art and zhuzhing it up a little bit to make it look like something themed, which is kind of what we're going to be doing today. In the comments, what do you think some of the benefits are to letting children create process art? So, as I mentioned before, pairing art activities with a book is a great way to make connections and continue those conversations. And that's one of the ways you can tie those two kinds of art together as well. So, as I mentioned, we're making rain process art. So if you have some materials, you can follow along. I'm going to just take a regular piece of paper. I think this is white construction paper, but if you have just plain white paper at home, that's fine too. And before I stick it on here, I'm going to take my white crayon and my clouds, and I'm going to glue my cloud cotton balls up at the top. Your kids can stick them wherever they want to. They can pull them apart for some great fine motor activities. Or they can just stick them. I know my kids love to glue things, and my little one loves to pull stuff apart, although she might try and eat the cotton balls. Once I have my cotton balls on there, I'm going to take my white crayon and I'm going to just draw a little lightning bolt on there. Your kiddos can draw some other hidden pictures with your white crayons because you can't see a white on white until we reveal it with our magic paint. So now that I have those set aside, I mixed up some liquid watercolors with a little bit of water because you can really dilute it and still get a lot of good color. You can dilute regular paint as well for the same effect, or if you don't have paint, you can use food coloring, or I even, you can rehydrate some dead, dried out markers if your kids forget to put the lids on them in just a cup of water as well. The more markers you have in there, the better the color that you'll end up with. So maybe I'll use that one too. And if you have this fun little pipette dropper tool, you could take it and you can just let them squeeze onto the paper, and you can see it like drips down like rain. They're having a really cool effect, and what kids won't like to squeeze stuff on paper? Oh, my rain got redirected by my lightning bolt. Kind of cool to see the effect that that crayon has on that painting. Or if you don't happen to have these laying around the house, almost everybody has some kind of spoon, I'm sure. You can do the same thing by letting them pour with their spoons. Or even using a straw to have the same kind of effect. So lots of great things. Tracy says, yes, because there's no wrong way to do art and kids are able to express themselves and gain confidence. I'm glad you love it. It's one that I enjoy too. The cool thing with rain is you can use a few different colors and still make it look pretty neat. I mean, who hasn't seen gray rain? See how this one's really, really light? Once it dries, you'll see a little bit more, except for it followed the path of the other raindrop. Another variation on this activity, if you can't prop it up sideways, is to just put it on a flat surface, and you can just drop from above. Oops, let's use my darker one. Just to make little splatters, like raindrops falling on something. That's another option. Or if you don't have any of those tools, another great thing to do is you can fill up a spray bottle with a little bit of color and let the kids go to town on that. But you might want to do that in the bathtub or outside because it could get a little messy doing it that way. So there's my raindrop process art activity. There's lots of other materials like I mentioned. Let me know what kind of materials you're using. And then if you say you don't want to use the white crayon at home or you want to add a little more to it, you can cut up some yellow paper to put a more visible lightning bolt on it too. Glue that right on there. Genevieve says, thank you for sharing these activities. And Pam said she was wondering what the marker was for. Use the marker to make my own kind of watercolor paint. If you have two colors that mix well together that are dried out, because I know that my kid does a very good job at putting his lids on his markers about 80% of the time. So sometimes these markers get dried out laying around. Say I have some blue and some yellow markers laying around, I can stick them in there, make myself some DIY green watercolor paint. The more you have in there, the more vibrant the color will be. I just did this yesterday, so it still has a little bit more time to absorb that paint. And then I wanted to ask you guys, what are some ideas you have for process art at home? Anyone have any ideas real fast? That's okay. If you have any ideas later, feel free to throw them in the comments. And then how do you think this activity can be adjusted for different weather? It's not always going to be a beautiful rainy day like today. It might be super hot or sunny. Or how can you adjust this kind of activity to pair with your child's favorite story? Or any other kind of process art activity like that. Feel free to share your ideas and throw in some pictures of your kiddos' artwork. We'd love to see them. And also check out our Fun Band website as well. Thank you for and our Pinterest page. We have a new Pinterest page as well. We'll be sure to include the link in the bottom of this. And Tiana, thanks for the compliment on the idea. I hope you guys enjoy the rest of your rainy day and that you guys come up with some great process art activities to do with your kiddos.